I'd now like to move right into introducing our first speaker, Undersecretary of State for Economic Growth, Energy, and the Environment, the Honorable Keith Krach. His resume is so amazing, and there is no way to do justice. I'll just mention. Prior to his appointment last June, he was a businessman and entrepreneur noted for bringing transformational leadership to many sectors, including factory automation, engineering, philanthropy, even the way people sign official documents. He was formerly CEO and chairman of DocuSign. As chairman of the board of Purdue University, he initiated a new model for scientific education that drove progress in many areas. He was chairman and CEO of the world's largest business-to-business e-commerce network, Ariba Corporation, with unbelievably except it's true, $1.7 trillion of commerce now transacted annually. That's really something. As chairman of the board of Angie's List, he was instrumental in taking it public as the nation's leading provider of consumer reviews for home services. At age 26, he was the youngest ever vice president of General Motors, recipient of many awards, including National Entrepreneur of the Year, Transformational Leader of the Year, and the Harvard Business School's Business Leader of the Year award. Ladies and gentlemen, please welcome the Honorable Keith Krach.
David, I can't thank you enough for that over-generous introduction. I mean, I think you read it just as my wife wrote it. Anyway, I appreciate it. It's a great honor to be here and pay great respect to the great country of Indonesia, the minister, the deputy ministers, and the coordinating ministers. It sounds like the boss person to me. And also the assistant secretaries and the ambassadors. You know, I told David, I go, you know, you're going to forget more than I'll ever know. And, you know, after spending time in the private sector for so long, it is the privilege of my life to give back to this great nation that has given so much to my family and me. And I'll tell you what I really loved. I love that Indonesian dance. I mean, in Silicon Valley, here's what we say. Different temperaments, talents, cultures, diversity of thought is the catalyst for genius. And I can't think of a country more diverse than Indonesia, with so many languages, so many cultures, and definitely so many dances. Now, by the way, think about that. And so my wife and my 8-year-old twins, we went to Bali about a year and a half ago. And so, you know, first thing out of the gate, they're doing the dances and everything like that. My 8-year-old daughter goes, "Dad, come on, you gotta dance with the dancers." It was a little faster than this one, and by the way, not a problem. I dance like nobody's looking, you know. I work like I don't need the money, and I also look like I've never been hurt. And it was just such a great experience with those guys. About 15 years ago, I have 3 older children who are in their late 20s. And I took my oldest, my daughter Monica, and we went to Bali, but we also went with a philanthropic group I was on the board of called Opportunity International. It gives $60 billion worth of microloans out a year. And the microloans go to people who are living on less than $1 a day. And we gave them out each card. And it was one of the most amazing experiences, one of the most educational experiences ever for my daughter. And by the way, this organization, the payback rate is 98%. And the loans are probably anywhere between $50 to $100. You got to pay it back. The graduation is that they can open up a checking account. Now, I know what you're thinking. How can the payback rate be 98%? It's simple. 95% of the loans are to women, and we all know they're more responsible. It's an infinitely scalable model. And so, you know, they have a chapter of about 20 people. They put it on the flip chart. Hey, you pay it or you're not. And then you're in trouble. And then they promoted the district manager, the regional, and it scales. And I think that's symbolic of what we try to do as the United States. And you know, on Fox yesterday, I was talking about the virus, but one of the things I said was the United States is the most generous country on the planet. In terms of preventing diseases and viruses, the United States over the last 3 years has donated or reinforced or invested $43 billion. And under the Trump administration, in terms of philanthropy, domestic and foreign, it's increased by $1 trillion. And by the way, that's a tribute to all you private sector people here, which make us so proud, and it's so powerful. Now, my actually first trip to Indonesia was back in the early 90s. This is when I was running a company called Rasna. We were in computer-aided engineering. It was on the cutting edge. And I'll never forget this one gentleman I met. He was a super smart guy. He was MIT grad. His name was Mr. Habibi. And they were looking at building a commercial airline business. And I'm like, oh, this guy is unreal. And it was great. We went to dinner, and, you know, we had Indonesian food where, you know, would you like this? And lovely woman, okay, I'll take that. Now, there was 19 of them in a row. I just go, yes, yes, yes. And by the way, I understand Vice President Habibie passed away a year ago. All honor to his name, because he was a great Indonesian patriot and just an incredible fella. And that was... I learned so much from him. I really got close with him. And so the business side, right? Two-way trade is $30 billion, but it's not enough. Now, U.S. exports have grown. Let's see, I'm looking at my stats, 19% in 2017. So I hope you guys really like our stuff, because we really like your stuff. I know you spent some time with Ambassador Lighthizer. I hope he didn't rough you guys up too much. I hope you roughed him up a little bit. But he's a fellow Ohio guy like me. And if you look at the investment side into Indonesia and the ASEAN region, I would say over the last decade, or actually probably even less, it's been $1 trillion in the ASEAN region. And Indonesia has got a large chunk of that. You know, I was talking to the guys from ConocoPhillips, and they've invested billions and billions, and I said, tell me about what you do for the people. And they go, look, man, we bring over retraining, engineering, procurement, accounting. This is a big part of what we do, and that is for a typical United States company. And I hear these stories all the time, because at the end of the day, it's just like handing out those microloans. It's not about giving fish, it's about teaching how to fish. And a guy coming from 30 years in Silicon Valley, when I'm out and I'm talking to countries and we have these bilaterals, I'm the economic guy. Everybody wants to see me. I got money. I'm Mr. Happy. And it's like we want the innovation of the United States private sector. And there's so much opportunity. And I always say that Silicon Valley is the West Point of capitalism. It's the United Nations, it's meritocracy, and it is a land of risk taking. The only way you can be a failure is not a fail, and we wear that badge with honor. It's a little different than the United States State Department, I might add. But, you know, but I can tell you what, it's the smartest bunch of people. I told them, hey, I just want to grab 20 of you guys. We can make a $50 billion company like that. I go, not yet. Let's first get stock options in the State Department, which I'm working on. That's kind of a novel idea. So here's what Secretary Pompeo said about Indonesia. This is when it was travel in 2018. And when he called your democracy, and I quote, something that America treasures. Amen to that, everybody. Amen to that. Now, Secretary Pompeo also charged me my second week on the job. My first week was, you know, you get sworn in, confirmed the next day, off to Peace for Prosperity for Bahrain, then go to G20, go to Korea, just not as far north as the president. I come back the next day, and Secretary Pompeo goes, here's my charge to you. I want you to develop and operationalize a global economic security strategy that will advance peace and prosperity around the world. And so I just want to talk about that briefly. So there's three pillars of that strategy. And number one is to lead with the economic model of freedom and growth. And, you know, it was interesting. I was over in Davos with the president and cabinet members, and President Trump went through the stats. Probably all of you have seen it. If you haven't, man, just Google anything. And results speak for themselves. Records of unemployment, GDP, twice as much, all G7 nations. Lowest unemployment, all demographics. And now, women make up the majority of the United States workforce. And I can go on and on and on. So anyway, that is just a model where perhaps we can lead. And I know, you know, countries are looking at different models. And by the way, results speak for themselves. The second pillar is to leverage the innovation and resources of the private sector. And there are so many things that we can do as a businessman. Boy, this is where the Delta opportunity is, and this is where the private sector got to. We can do so much around the world. But the third one, and I think the most important, is to further strengthen our relationship with our allies and our friends. And our vision is to create a growth network of countries, like-minded countries, companies, civil society that operate under a set of trust standards that we have in common. And that is accountability, integrity, transparency, reciprocity, respect for the rule of law, respect for property of all kinds, respect for sovereignty of nations, respect for human rights, respect for labor, respect for the planet. And this network is not just infrastructure, but it's also digital, energy, commerce, investment, research, trade. And that is the direction we're headed. Now, to make that come alive as a good businessman, you've got to have showcase accounts. You have to demonstrate success. And so one of the programs we're looking at is what we call the Prosperity Partnership. And what that means is not only do we grab all these tools out of the United States diplomatic toolkit, but we also, and then also all the financing arms like Boehler DFC, Import-Export Bank, USAID. We have 28 of these. And the private sector. When I mean private sector, it's not just the business sector. It's the social sector. Think about it. The microloans, to build the homes, education, online learning, and then actually also coupled with some of our allies. And by the way, so the objective of the game is to improve the business climate and empower human capital and create a strong, secure, just nation and partner. And that's where we're really coming from. And so how do you get those things off? Well, in business, you go, we have to start off with a showcase account. We have to prove to ourselves and to the world that we can do this. And we do this, then we hold that on the pedestal. That's like when you're building a company from scratch, that's the number one thing. We want to showcase account. And I can tell you one thing. I couldn't think of a better one than the country of Indonesia. And whatever we can do in that respect. And I know Ambassador Lighthizer, he has lead on trade, but on all the other areas of economic collaboration, we're very, very keen for that. And by the way, it's putting together a strategic plan. So it's an honor to be here. I love the country of Indonesia. And I would just like to say, God bless the country of Indonesia, and God bless the United States of America.